There we go.
There
You
it
no
is.
longer need, like, obviously it's nice to have the big production stuff, the nice
Yeah.
cameras, but at the end of the day, you just need the thing that's going to record.
Yeah.
That's it. So, all right, let's open this bad boy up.
Christina, don't give me like bunny ears or anything.
Give them as many funny faces as you can in the background. There we go. Awesome. I love it. I love it. All right, let me get this open here. All right, episode 1 of Networking with Nick. Mark, whatever. All right. Today, my guest, my guest today graduated from with his bachelor's out of Oklahoma State University. Got a little cowboy in you.
Oh yeah.
All right. Before making his way to Wichita State and crushing it for his master's degree in sports management. While at WSU, my guest found himself as the graduate assistant of athletic development. During this time, he assisted in the organization and fulfillment of an annual development fund in a record-breaking year of over $5 million raised. Moved on to become the assistant director of development and held that title for 3 years. Today, my guest finds himself in the real estate arena with nearly a decade of experience under his belt. My guest, Kyle Pepper.
Hey,
how are you, brother?
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here for the first episode ever of Networking with Nick. One of the first things I wanted to ask you today, actually, let me get this bad boy back open. Knowing you're not a Kansas local,
Yeah.
right? I would love to know the mindset and thought process of making the move from your hometown of it's Nampa,
Yeah.
Idaho, to Wichita.
Yeah. Really, it's a matter of getting plugged in. I mean, whenever we and my wife moved here, we got married on a Sunday and we moved here on a Thursday. And so it was an extremely quick turnaround and didn't know a single soul.
Wow.
And so it was just a matter of, hey, how can we get plugged in with people in and around Wichita and how long is that going to take? We pretty much got plugged into a local church, got plugged into some local organizations, and now 10 years in, it seems like it's a small enough town that you pretty much everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, you start to, it's the east versus west. That's all there really is in Wichita. And it's not like there's a south side or a north side. So I was like, are you a west sider or are you an east sider?
Yeah.
It's like, are you going to be rolling on Rock Road or what?
Yeah.
So, and that's really all it comes down to. What was it that so you guys went from literally marriage on Thursday to moving here like that weekend?
Yeah.
So literally. 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
If that. What was it why? Who said, hey, let's go to Wichita?
It was me. It was pretty much, so she's a Texan through and through. So she never thought she was ever going to leave Texas. And so for me to say, hey, I have moved around quite a bit. Let's take this crazy train to Wichita. That was a big leap for her. So for me, it was a matter of, hey, I thought I was going to be in the sport industry for a really long time. I thought I was in the industry, you usually move from job to job to job, and that's how you move up. And so we thought that was going to be our life.
Yeah.
Well, I got hooked up with the athletic department at Wichita State, and then over time, it was a matter of, I kind of like this town. Let's stay here.
All right. It's funny you say that. Being a Seattle local, moving here when I was 21. 2011 July, been here for now, going on 13 years. And I do generally like Wichita. It's small enough to not be a giant city, but it's big enough to give you city feelings when you need to, right? Like if you need to go to the mall or a movie theater, whatever, go out for nightlife, it's still there, but you still have the ability to just, if you want to leave Wichita and get away from some people, it don't take much. Just pick a direction and drive.
Yeah.
And that's really it. And I've come to really like that a lot for the sheer fact that I go home to Seattle just recently. Yeah. It's just so crowded. There's a lot of people, and I think I've become used to the small town.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could go back.
Yeah, it really hooks you in more than anything.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of whenever I explain it to people, it's a small big town, it's a big small town.
Big small town. Absolutely.
It's both. And so it operates that you could probably see the same person twice at the grocery store, or you may not. It just depends.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where you're in a small enough city town city, that you can't, like you said, like you go to the grocery store. I know the people who work at my grocery store because I go to the
Yeah.
same Dillon's because it's right down the street.
Yeah.
And everyone has like even that small town feeling of like everyone says hi here
Oh, yeah.
compared to being from Seattle. Like, man, you'll get some highs,
Earbuds in, I'm out.
there's also gonna be like, hey, you got $1? You got $1? You got $1? People shitting in the street or whatever, and it's just like, man, what happened?
Yeah.
You know, and you come here and it's just relax. It's
Yeah.
quiet.
It's a different pace of life.
It is,
for sure.
I very much enjoy it. Now, you brought up the athletic development. I wanted to get into that
Sure.
a little bit. What was the drive behind your work inside the athletic development at Wichita State?
Yeah. So the goal is, so development is a little bit of a misnomer. So development is basically just fundraising. So it's making relationships with people, and then basically asking them for money to support the department.
Please, sir,
Yeah,
have some more.
exactly. No joke. It's but you get to know some really, really cool people, especially a lot of cool people in Wichita that have been around here for 40, 50, 60 years and have seen a huge difference. But it's primarily fundraising. So the idea was, hey, I want to be an athletic director someday. What's the best way to get there? Well, usually, a lot of times, those guys are really good at fundraising, because even though you're in the athletic director role, you're still doing a lot of fundraising, and you are the face, quote unquote, face of the department from a certain perspective, but you're meeting with people all the time. And so how else are you going to do that? You're going to do it through fundraising. So that was the idea, was to go through that. And I generally have a love for people,
Okay.
making connections. That's a fun thing for me.
Yeah.
So those two things kind of coincided, was, hey, what's the best track? And, what can I also enjoy along the way that I get there? But it only took about 5 years for me to say, no, I'm good.
It's interesting. It's funny that you say that, like the 5 years. Because my next one was like, with the clear, interest in athletic development. What was the pivoting point to move away from that to get into the real estate? Because, you did do that for about 5 years. You have a hefty resume from it, and you probably absolutely could have continued with it.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was a sole decision to get out of. I think it was a matter of the ways that you move up in the sport industry is, most of the time you're taking a better role at a different school, which means you have to move.
Mm-hmm.
So Wichita kind of caught me as like, I want to stay in Wichita, so that kind of cut that out. The other thing is that working in sports is fun, and it's, there's a lot of long hours. It's a lot of flexibility. There's not a lot of pay.
That's
especially
fair.
At a smaller school like Wichita State. So thinking about future, hey, if I want to have a kid, if I want to do anything that I truly want to do from a goal perspective, like,
Right.
I'm probably going to need to make a little bit more than what I was making. I mean, my wife was a teacher, and she was making exponentially more than I was.
And she's a teacher.
So
yeah.
It was like,
what are you doing? Driving for DoorDash? What's going on here?
Writing on the wall. But no, it still was a fantastic opportunity, and absolutely loved it. It just was, writing's on the wall. What are you going to do about it?
Now, were you able to utilize those connections when you moved? Not moved, but like pivoted careers? Because
Yeah.
like obviously you build out all those connections. You have all these people that have donated money. Like you were part of the fundraiser for over $5 million, which is a huge deal. So like, what were you able to do with those relationships when you came over?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I thought I was going to be able. I still do my best to keep in contact, even 5 years later, with those people, and actually going to a Shocker game next week. Looking forward to seeing a lot of those same people. But
Yeah.
I have purposely stayed in contact. There hasn't been a ton of utilization, only because. So you think about the people that we were making relationships with were. Later on in life, they were very established. They were able to give, and so more likely than not, they were already had their agent.
Yeah.
And they're not going to trust a guy a year in or 6 months in to do something like that. I have been able to serve a couple of people that I did keep relationship with.
Nice.
So I'm happy about that. But I think it was a lot of hey, still stay in contact with those people because I enjoyed their relationships. I still like to talk to them. We're still good friends, and it's good to stay in contact with people.
Yeah. I mean, building those type of relationships, I'm assuming it took massive amounts of time. Some of these people probably donating $25,000, $50,000. You know, some of the top donators
at a time.
And and that's just like, here you go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, here you go. It's like, all right, well, I do want to be friends with you. How do I continue to? So what was it like to build those type of relationships with those tight-knit individuals?
Yeah. I mean, it's a slow play. Relationship building is 100% slow play. And I hate to even use the word play because relationship building is more, for me, it's not even necessarily a requirement or a job task. It's more of like a fulfilling type of thing for me.
Yeah.
So I enjoy, spending time, whether it be over food or coffee, or, if you're really wanting to show somebody that you care about them, especially within the sport industry, it's a matter of, hey, maybe I'll take you to a game, or I'll bring you behind the scenes in the locker room. Like, hey, let's go in, after a big win, let's go to the locker room. Let's go check out what the team's doing. Everybody's pumped, everybody's screaming, everybody's yelling. You're around the energy. It brings up the energy.
Oh yeah. They're like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. And especially if somebody has kids or something like that, like, hey, come over here. And you get the little kid and they're going to high five Ron Baker or Fred VanVleet back in the day. It's like,
they're pumped.
That just, you see the joy on the kid's face, and then you see the joy on the parent's face, and you're like, hey, like, let's continue this. Like, this is a good thing. We're all happy here, winning basketball games, and also just building relationships. So I think the biggest thing is like giving value, for sure.
Okay.
Giving value in the relationship. Hey, what can I do for you? Is there anything, it seems like you're very interested in Shocker basketball. What can I do for that? Like, how can I help?
Right.
How can I help it create a better experience while you're watching a Shocker basketball game? Does it mean moving forward? Does it mean moving back? Does it mean moving here? Okay. Does your name on a wall mean something?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, is it awesome to walk into Charles Koch Arena and see your name on a wall? Does that create a better experience? Well, yeah, it might. Well, let's figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to hear their name. Everyone wants to see their name. Everyone wants to be remembered when they leave. You know what I mean? So that, having that small little piece of metal with some engraving of a name and what you have done for the legacy.
Yeah,
people really truly go hard for that. Okay, all right. We got our first one. Okay, all right. The kneecaps need to be replaced soon.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry. So sorry.
I was mid-stride.
Just the skinniest part between the couch and the table,
I was trying to meet your eyes. I was so trying to meet your eyes and be like, hey. Did
you do it on purpose, or were you truly messing around?
I wasn't messing around.
I thought you were playing around. I thought you were playing around.
He gets into a zone to where he zones everything.
No, you're good, brother. I totally thought you were joking.
It's AD. I was in a moment, and I usually walk through that thing, and I saw you guys. I thought you were just...
Oh, it's fine.
That's so funny. I'm leaving it in.
That's fine.
I'm absolutely leaving. This is the first episode, too.
What?
You might as well come in and say hello. Here.
Sorry, I'm an idiot. And I'm Wichita Public Games. Join us.
There you go. Shameless plug.
Shameless.
That was great. That was amazing. All right. Let's talk a little bit of the action that he says about At Home Wichita Property Management. Let's talk a little bit about the real estate scene. There's a lot of crazy trends in the real estate market over the last few years, man, since 2020. One of them that I've taken a big interest in is big equity groups buying up many single-family homes.
Yeah.
How has that challenged you guys when it comes to keeping inventory? Because if they're just coming into the market, swooping it up, how does that give you guys the opportunity to even have the ability to show it, sell it, whatever?
Yeah. That's actually been a huge topic as of literally 6 to 8 months.
Right.
So I read an article quickly. I always read articles quickly enough to just be a little dangerous, but
Not the headline, but maybe a paragraph
maybe the first paragraph.
Okay, more than most.
But I did read that there is possible legislation going through that would actually limit those type of companies from doing that because of the amount of inventory that they are taking from people.
Right.
And based on those big equity firms, they can buy something and they can either they put it for rent and then they can jack up the rent prices, which is a good and bad thing, but it's a lot of times you're taking away, like you said, that inventory from people who truly need it.
Right.
So here in Wichita, there hasn't been a huge, at least that I've personally run into, there hasn't been a huge amount of that. There has been some. I know that for sure. I know that there's a lot of out-of-state money just in general coming into this market because, I mean, you look at nationally, I think we were ranked in the top 5 cheapest markets in the entire U.S.
It's not expensive out here.
No.
It's one of the main reasons I've stayed here is because
Yeah.
I pay $850 for rent. I have a
Yeah.
3-bedroom, full basement, 2-car garage. I say that to my friends back home in Seattle, like that's $4,200.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
maybe I should stay here.
Exactly.
It's not horrible. So
I
yeah,
mean, that's the idea. I mean, homeownership is realized probably 10 times more here than it is anywhere else. But as far as those big firms, I think it has been a little bit difficult from, especially the past few years where there's been almost no inventory. And whenever you talk about people who have a lot of money, they have a lot of money to start scooping things up, and it doesn't matter basically at what price.
right.
Um,
It's
so
just like, oh, how much?
yeah,
It's just a drop in the bucket.
it's like I said, I haven't personally run into that, and maybe it's a matter of I don't work with any clients that represent big equity firms or anything like that. I just haven't run across it too much, but I do absolutely know that it's out there because I like to read the headlines. I like to read what's happening in other markets because a lot of times, especially with the past couple of years, whenever it comes to those fluctuations in the market, they happen on the coasts. And then by the time it gets to us, it's kind of like, doop.
It's like this huge tsunami wave that comes from both sides. But
Yeah.
by the time it gets in the middle, it's just this little, all right, you got wet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it still hit us to a degree for sure.
Absolutely.
But it's still not nearly anything like your swings out west or east.
Oh yeah. So let me ask you this then: what are some of the trends? You just stated how the trends start usually on the east west coast, make their way in. What are we kind of trailing behind on local trends right now in Wichita versus kind of what we've seen around the rest of the national?
Oh yeah, I love watching and following other agents and following other markets.
Right.
And I think we are behind on quite a few things, and I think it comes down to technology is one thing. There's some big technological leaps that we could make, even from an individual agent basis. Like it drives me nuts whenever I see iPhone photos on any type of listing. I don't care if it's 50,000 or 350,000. It just drives me nuts. It's $100 to go pay for professional photography.
Get someone come in for an hour, take some real
It'll
shots.
be fine. Like just even from that perspective, technology from even just social media presence, technology from we just got this virtual tour camera that you put throughout and you can literally click through as if you're in the house. I mean, that I've seen in other markets for years, and we just got that camera, and there's not a lot of that around town.
Wow.
So I think from a technology perspective, we're usually a little bit behind the 8 ball. I like to look at other markets like Dallas. I spent some time in Dallas and also spent some time in Florida. So I like to pay attention to those markets because they're usually some of the emerging ones, and it's good to see what they're doing from that perspective. I think other than technology being a little bit behind, I can't think of too much else other than, let's just say, price.
Yeah.
I mean, price is such a huge thing, as we said. I mean, we're so behind from that perspective that I kind of like it in that way. It affords a lot of people to be able to purchase, but also a lot of people are able to invest here
Right.
too. I mean, that's another big sector, is just the investment game is much less barrier to entry here than it is
Interesting.
everywhere else.
Let's talk about that. Let's dig in a little bit on that, because I don't know what the commercial side of things look like here. You know, you go back to Seattle and you see literally like 100 cranes putting up all these skyscrapers and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So when you talk about investment here in Wichita, what do those particularly look like? Is it going to be your more commercial shopping malls? Is it going to be multifamily homes? You know, 4 or 5. You know, multi units and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Is that what is that kind of what we're seeing around Wichita versus a lot of the rest of the nation?
So I can only speak from more of an outsider's perspective whenever it comes to that, because I'm not in that stage every day. I may hear tidbits here and there. I may ask some questions to some people who are in that space, but at least from what I understand, is that it seems like we're on a shortage of just about everything whenever it comes to builders, contractors, everything. Like there is an, at least from what I see, I feel like there's a massive play for everybody in that space whenever it comes to builders, contractors, plumbers, electricians. Like there are still quite a few in town, and we're at a population of what, 500,000-600,000, but still, it seems like every time I call somebody, they're always a week behind. And it doesn't matter who I'm calling. It doesn't matter what industry I'm calling. They're always a week behind. So whenever it comes to like that commercial space too, um, I think we're getting there. I think in just even the 10 years that I've been here, downtown's changed completely. There's a lot more amenities that are happening in and around town
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like we're getting there. It's just, we're still behind.
We're just the slow ones. We're in the middle of the state, the United States, and we are like dang near about smack dab in the middle. So it just takes time. Just like new music getting out here, things that it's so
Yeah.
weird, you know. Man, this has been amazing, Kyle. Thank you so much. We're at 35 minutes.
Oh wow,
That's not bad.
yeah.
I actually
Goes quick.
I intended this to be about 30 minutes. So this is the first episode of Networking with Nick, and tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on social media. It's all under Kyle Jackson Pepper. It's JKSN. But you can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Got all those things. Yeah.
Awesome.
Feel
We'll make
free to
sure
check
that
me
it's all put in there and everything too.
Appreciate that.
Heck yeah. Awesome. This has been Nick. First episode of Networking with Nick. Thank you. Ah, man, I ain't gonna lie. My palms are a little sweaty.
That's fun.
That was cool.